Yes, we are live.
Should I restart?
Yeah, you can tell about what you have in your hand. Uh, what the camera.
Okay. No, it's just the status of the mini app is that I still don't get the FID, so we talked about it quickly, working on it. The second is on
But
the simulator
what is the FID needed for? Uh, Only the
for the
payment gate,
payment.
right?
Yes.
But we
Okay.
can
So
test it without the commands without payment gate, right?
yes. So it's a working end to end, except for it's only for free
So
for now.
payment, yeah,
Okay.
on the gate,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so the thing that is running in development mode, and we can put it on production mode, but production mode forces payment at this point. So I said it this way. However, if we want a setting that is more permanent, it's about instead of using my Farcaster account, would be to use a joint Farcaster account and run it on a domain name that perhaps belongs to the YaRG collective. Okay. Right now,
Uh,
it's a
yeah.
free domain that I got through Invoke. Okay. So these are small things that we will need to do to for the DevCon to have a really fully fledged.
Do you have the steps on how to run the mini app? Some written somewhere.
It's not written, but I can write it down. Now I have a
Yeah,
pretty good.
so that we could replicate it. I think in half a day I could make my Tumblr ready, and then I can test.
Hmm. Okay. So going to write anyway. It's scripted. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's let's say automated, and I will just write that down into the README. Okay. And
Okay.
I'm working in a fork of the GitHub repository, so perhaps it's also a good time to merge. Perhaps. Um,
Uh, do we want to merge? Because we might keep it as an archive, the old V1.
we can
Or
merge in a secondary in a branch. Okay, a branch could be frame v1,
yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah. That's true.
another branch could be frame v2, and we can just switch, and we have the full archive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can look at that a bit later. It's just one thing that right now it's not connecting to a read tumbler. Okay, for the context, this is something we would try today if we have time. But instead, it's connected to a fake rover, okay, which is just a small something that mimics the tumbler and just sends images. Okay,
So the
fake.
fake rover is on some IP, all right?
Mhm.
Or how is it? It's on some sitting on some IP address.
It's running on the same machine as the mini app server,
So how is it connecting? How are the
localhost.
commands?
But
Yeah,
the
but it
thing that
can. But if you run that fake rover on some other computer instead of localhost, you can write the IP and then send, right? How?
yes, so there is a configuration file for the mini app, and in
Yeah, yeah.
this configuration file we define the endpoints where the rover is supposed to be.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I inherited that from your work, Anurag,
Yeah.
because you had rover A, rover B kind of a URL, okay,
Yeah.
that were pointing to the rovers, okay. And so here I'm doing the same. Instead of in development, these rover A, rover B are basically this fake rover API,
Okay.
okay. Um, and so something that could be this fake rover API sends black images with the timestamp. Okay, so that we can see while we are moving, or when we press the pick button, we get different images. Okay, so we can see progress, we can test end to end. But something a bit more interesting is to replace, instead of sending these fake images, is to send images from a simulator, 3D simulator. Okay, so I've been working on that, and it's right now the simulator is working on Raspberry Pi. Okay, but it's quite slow. Okay, so I was trying to run it on something a bit more powerful. It turns out that I have something called a deep Amazon Deep Lens or AWS Deep Lens. Okay, so that's a
Is it
device I
something
think.
new?
No,
Is
not
it
at all.
something?
Okay, it it was created by AWS I think 2017 or something like that, and they were selling that for a couple of years, and they completely gave up. Okay, on that. Okay. And so the thing that I thought, yeah, it must be more powerful. It's Intel Atom inside, okay, more powerful than a Raspberry Pi, okay, and the simulator would run on a small device easily. You know, in my home, I have plenty of these devices, okay. And also, I was thinking of perhaps also using the camera, whatever. Okay. The problem that it turns out that Apple, I don't know, AWS stopped, I think in 2021, and the devices are just completely unusable. Okay, that they run Ubuntu, but it's a special Ubuntu, and so basically, I completely open it and try to see whether there is a way to bypass the anything that locks the device. But the thing is that it's completely unusable. Okay, so I didn't spend much time in trying to find a way to use it, which is really a pity because it's quite well done. Okay, the inside is quite nice. Okay, we can we can look at it at some other occasion perhaps. But searching on the internet, apparently most people just throw it away. Okay, so didn't find any help on that side either. Yeah. So instead, I do have a way more powerful laptop with an NVIDIA card supported by Webot, okay? And so I installed that. So I didn't have time by today to connect the fake rover API to Webot yet. That will be perhaps one of the next steps. And so that would be running here with the mini app soon, soonish. So, but concretely for DevCon, what remains to be done is the payment thing, okay, and the migration to a domain that is manageable by several people here, basically, not just my personal account. The simulation thing is more like something nice, perhaps to use later, or at DevCon as well. It could be pretty fun. You know, if there is a problem with the rover, with the actual rover, that can be a nice feedback, fallback as well, right?
Hmm. Can we write at least the documentation steps so that I can follow it? If we can do that, we have like 30 minutes. So
Sure.
we can write some readme.
I'm going to share my screen with. So here we go. So you should be able to see this GitHub screen, okay?
Yeah.
Which is the what is called a fork, so a copy of Anurag's work and to work in parallel, okay? And so on this branch called Port Frames V2, so Frames V2 is the former name of the mini app, right? Okay. So there is the work, and so the idea is here we have the README, and perhaps to put a few notes here. Here I already put okay, well I already put a few notes here. No,
I think this
that's
was written
yours.
by me. Yeah, this is
Yes,
my
those are
notes.
yours. Okay, but there is not much difference basically. It's just added. So so this is still valid. Okay, the first point. Okay, so Are you okay that we update this list?
Yeah, I think it will remain on the branch, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's still on my branch. Huh? It's we don't
Yeah.
have to. Yeah. So this still is valid. Okay. So if I try to show you concretely to have some mnemonic, okay, is that um, there is I created this .env .templates. Okay. And so, sorry, it's maybe not easy to read, but here are all the things we have um, to provide. Okay, so here we need an paycaster API key. Okay, after there are some default values here. The mnemonic is a webcast account recovery phrase. Okay, so that will be the owner of the mini app on Farcaster. Okay, so we need to have to get that. Okay. That's really for signing everything we do here. Okay. Here, environment is development, and perhaps we want to do it production. What else? The FQDN, so the fully qualified domain name, okay, is the domain name that will point to the mini app server. Okay. So right now it's a name on ngrok. And after you see the base URL. So the rover base URL also. This is where the rovers are sitting and listening. Okay. So for example, Mayer's rover is accessible through some domain. So this is where we would put the domain. And so here, by default, in development, it's localhost with some port, but this is where the fake rover is configured automatically. Okay. And after the URL for the cameras and the Tumblr on this base URL. Okay. So this is the first. So it's this fake. Yeah, replace each of the variable from on template. That speaks to you what I wrote.
So this is exactly similar to what for it was for V1, right?
Yes, it's just that I documented it because we didn't have a template so far, and I
Okay.
had to figure out, the what was missing by getting it from source code. So I
Yeah.
gathered all that in the template, and so now it's just a copy paste, and you put the values you want, basically.
Okay. But it's
Okay.
still a fast API web app, right?
Oh yeah, I didn't change anything of that. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is okay. I think like
Basically, hmm?
how that like open that frames testing that line would change, I guess, after starting the fast API on line 60. On line 60,
Yeah,
it's for testing the V1, right? So that would change for this one mini app.
yes.
So how do you test it?
Um,
You just cast the URL?
so I don't. Do you see my screen if I change tab? No,
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 we
no, no.
see.
So let me. Um, and so it's interesting. They provide quite a few new tools. So this one is super useful. I shared, but it doesn't show up. Oh, it's here. Okay. So it's called the manifest tool. Okay. They have three tools. They have the manifest tool, the embed tools, and another one. Um,
So what are these tools? This is what checks the validity of the app.
so yes, it's to validate, but also to build and to preview. Okay. So
Okay.
basically, here you put the domain name that this is an ngrok domain name.
Yeah.
So it's a automatically generated name. Okay. And then automatically. So let's just uh, see what happens. Up, and it says manifest cache refreshed. So what is the manifest? The manifest is a JSON file. You have to put at some predefined address on your mini app website. Okay. And then it checks a few values. After it shows you the how it will look as a mini app preview, the embed preview, and you can also launch it like that. Okay.
So what is this embed preview?
The embed preview is so when you have a cast, you have the a small window. You have the small window, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So this one is called
Ah,
cast.
okay. So the embed in the cast.
Yes, it's a cast embed.
Okay,
Okay, but you
okay,
have different embeds. Okay, you have the cast embed and the cast sharing embed and a few other. It's a context where it's a kind of sandbox where the app is running. Okay, and depending on the context, you can get or not some information like the FID.
okay.
Okay, so that's an embed. Okay, and so here you can see. I don't remember how they call this one. Okay, you can also see different information where it validates. The different. Do you have an icon URL? What will be the button title? Okay, stuff like that. The different tags. And also, this is also where you assign your mini app domain with your signature, so that everything is basically end-to-end encrypted, and the identity of people are well known. So here it's assigned by me, okay, and
What is that
for this
signed
domain,
by? The
where it's
domain.
the domain is this one.
Okay.
The
So what is
domain,
that
so it's
signature? Signature.
where it's to ensure that this domain belongs to me,
Okay.
that I am the one who, if you connect to it, you connect to someone you connect to something that, if I was, let's say, I don't know, Google, okay, and someone makes a strange domain name that looks like google.com, okay, it's one way to associate, to be sure that it's the right domain, okay,
But is
more
this
like
some
a,
property you have to put in the manifest file?
yes, so I can show you that, okay, sorry, I need to change the tab again. Um, Is there any question? Because it's quite a bit different
Yeah, so
from what
it's
we, yeah.
more or less similar to what we had. It's just now that we have like the manifest file and conversion to mini app. But the
Yes,
rest of it seems similar. So we just have to set up the Tumblr then. I think I can do it on the weekend if I have some time.
I put uh, I put a few notes like that, okay. And but it's a bit, I would say, not well thought. Okay, so perhaps. Um, so ngrok, if I'm not, I think I didn't change that at all. But the command is usually a bit. Uh, Sorry, it's here. For me, the command was. Oh yeah, well, it's basically the same. Okay, but just for sake of completion, here we need to declare the name like that. Huh?
Okay.
Yes, it's so here is a domain name. Okay,
But that is randomly generated, no? If you don't give anything.
so
I think it's generated some extra additions to your own IP, public IP, so, and some
so
text.
I don't remember, but I think it will be localhost by default or something like that. So anyway, it's pretty, quite well done. Okay, so they tell you what to do. Okay, it's just that if you don't set the URL, you may not get connection from outside or something like that. Okay,
Okay.
not sure, something like that. Okay, um, the next steps are basically the same. Now I should see the valve. I have to fix new. Okay, so the frame server. So let's call it now the mini app.
Yeah. Maybe we should
Okay.
also rename the folder itself, Farcaster Mini.
Sure. Yeah.
mini app.
So
Something.
yeah, I'm just trying to make sure of the command. So the command here remain the same. Yes, look at that. Um, but now we have the option, okay, in development to have the fake server, okay. And so just one more command for that.
So do you have to run it separately, right? It's a Python HTTP server, I guess.
Yes, yes. Uh, if you have no Tumblr around, you can use the fake rover. And so the command becomes a from the root of this like that. So it's just a Python script that you run. Um, so the in a different shell, okay? Because the fake rover by default since uh, yeah. So this is configured in the template by default. Okay, I showed it earlier. The configuration of the template is pointing to the fake rover. Okay, so and then go to zero to test the frame. Okay, so to test the frame, you can use the manifest tool, but the embed tool is more focused. Okay, it's um, sorry, that's the embed tool. Stops here. You can
But can you
also
also test
use
it test it with the embed tool, the app?
yes. Um, Earlier, I can switch again screen to show that. I showed the manifest tool, where you have a lot of detail about what to do, but you have the section where they show you, the shortcut and the embed. Okay, if you tap on it, it opens it. I showed you earlier. Okay, it opens it full screen as a mobile app. Okay, so the embed tool, the manifest tool, they all do that. Okay,
Hmm.
Eh, you can also try directly in a browser, but there will be no Farcaster integration there. So, okay.
Yeah, this is an interesting flow, right? If somebody does not want to use Farcaster, then how do we gate it?
But the thing that right now is done, okay, is that if you run
Yeah.
in production mode, you must go through payment. So if payment fails, but you can't access the rovers. Okay. In development, I have modified slightly. I added a few scenarios that in development, um, if there is a FID available, then we use it. Okay. If it's not available, then we proceed. Because we accept the development mode.
I think Stripe has some stablecoin integration now. So basically, we could Stripe, the payment gateway company.
Okay.
So I think they have integrated some crypto rails onto their gateway stuff.
Okay.
So the web
So
app could be through Stripe, I guess.
um, anyway, it's pretty straightforward to modify this logic. So if we decide on what experience we want, I can modify that very quickly. Okay.
Okay.
Um, and so that's about it basically. Huh? Okay.
Okay.
So let's have something a bit more readable if we want to review. Okay, so perhaps easier to read this way.
This is more or less similar.
Ah, yeah, just one thing that's here. Yeah. I try to keep. I try not to revolutionize what you have done so that it's still familiar. Okay. Um, yeah. I still had. Sorry, what's happening? I still had a few things to modify because of the well. Basically, most of the changes pertain to the templates. The templates you had. Because you remember for
Yeah.
the Frame v1 protocol, we had all these HTML meta tags, okay, that we
Yeah.
had to define, okay, and so it's valid HTML, but it's also pretty constraining, okay? And so that's the why of the mini app is that now it's a plain HTML code, so all these meta tags disappeared. Okay, so that's why most of the work was there in the end. Okay. And
Okay.
I really think it's really nice now. Okay,
But
so
if somebody knows this HTML, CSS, and so they could design a really good front end for the mini app, I guess,
yeah,
if you know it well.
yes, yeah. But anyway, it also looks like we are just steps away to figure out how to get the FID and to have really to get back and really what we had before. Okay, because the features are exactly the same. So I just added a few things like a timer, a JavaScript timer to tell you that okay, you still have 1 minute and 30 seconds and whatever. Okay, live. Okay, I did a few stuff like that, but otherwise it's on par with no, it's the same experience. We are just missing the payment at this point. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
But when we configure it for the YaRG rover group, okay, on the YaRG Farcaster account, perhaps it's better that to do it when I can be around, so that we can do it relatively quickly, okay?
Okay.
Because it's kind of documented here, and anyone trying would be super welcome for sure. Okay, to reproduce in your own environment and so on. If you have a spare Raspberry Pi, it's pretty straightforward to do honestly now. And by the way, everything is working on Raspberry Pi 3, okay, and it's just fine, okay. But it's also I spend a lot of time to try to figure out how the thing works, okay, because the documentation is super. There is a nice documentation, but well, it needs some polish, let's say. Okay, that's one thing. And also because, for example, this tool, the manifest tool, yeah, is slightly buggy. Okay, so it can be super confusing. Okay, you see, for example, here, if I change the domain, okay, um, let's say like that. Okay, so it refreshes automatically. It doesn't wait for me to press the button. The thing that after that, it doesn't work anymore. Okay, so here I put back the correct one. Okay, you see, it worked up till here, but after we don't have the rest of the page. Okay, so it was
Okay.
super confusing at the beginning, and so it's just enough to reload the page. Huh? You just reload the page and you get it. Okay, but it was super confusing at the beginning, so I didn't know what to look at. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, but after that, you see, it's here we have the preview, and we can use them. Okay, boom, like that. Should I say boom? And it doesn't work? Okay. Okay. No, because there is one. You see, it's not completely even of a reload here. This is not reloaded. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's why the tools are rich and interesting. Let me show you another one that I mentioned in the documentation. Um, this one is called the embed tool. So it's a simpler tool, but more straightforward. Okay.
I,
This one is less buggy. Okay. So you see the same domain. So refresh. Okay. And here, if I open, it loads properly. Okay. Open URL as a mini app. Okay. So it will look like that in on the mobile. Okay. So we can let's see whether it works still. Okay, it works. So you see there is the here the timer. Okay, that I added. Okay.
Hmm.
And you see the time here. If I take a pic. Okay. If I pic. Okay. Don't let me down in the live demo. Yeah, yeah. Here we go. You see the time changed because it's the fake
yeah.
rover generates a new image.
You
So there is a bug because at the top it's normally written rover B. Okay, at the top here, but apparently it's written time left. Okay, for some reason now. So I'm not sure. I tried to solve this today. I don't know why it does that now. And you see the time is up. So on the browser, I have a pop-up to tell me, okay, what do you want to do? But here, I didn't manage to do a redirect. But if I try a new action, it comes back
yeah.
to the rover selection.
Hmm.
So, but what is super interesting is that so right now for me, I'm trying to be on par. Okay, to put some goodies, but
Yeah.
to be on par with the V1. But you see now we have really the base of a plain website where we can do whatever we want almost. Okay, so by DevCon, since we have time, we could have a nicer, here the plain buttons, at least to lay them out like forward, backward, to have a forward on top of backward. Okay, and stuff like that. Okay, okay, that sounds a bit ridiculous. Okay, but we could. Um, oh, there is submit button now. Nice. Okay.
But
Um,
those HTML templates, I had like vibe coded it. I just asked Cloud to give me something, and then actually did not uh, look into the details how it was done. So whenever there was a bug, I would just paste the uh, errors in Claude, and then it would give me some suggestions. So it was those
mhm,
templates were basically vibe coded.
right. Um, right now there are. I just took them. Did I fix it? Yeah, I fixed it. Yeah. Um, but here, anyway, there are several things we could do. Okay, like at some point we were talking about having a HUD. Is HUD. What was the HUD? To have the view from the rover, but on top of that, to put some overlays. You know, um, that's that could be fun to do and relatively useful. Okay? No,
Yeah. Okay. I think this was a good session. At least. Mayor, we have to set up your Tumblr. It used to work, right?
Yeah. Oh no, there was one thing we weren't able to do. If you remember, because it was Windows, we had a lot of trouble.
I think we changed the.
Yes, we did, but I'm saying we were having trouble there. I'm not sure we did the last step. But my Tumblr is not Wi-Fi. I don't have the new board. I only have the board I showed you, and that
No, but
doesn't
you
work.
have the ESP32 Nano and plug-in board, right?
What is the plugin board? I showed you this.
So that is the plug-in board.
Okay,
So and the ESP or the Arduino on top of that plug-in board is the ESP32 Nano.
okay, so I have it.
Yeah, so that is what we need to make the tumbler run. So you have to unplug the original Arduino Nano that is sitting on the tumbler right now for you. So you have to unplug it and then plug in this plug-in board.
Right. And then,
in place. And then we had to program it with the latest Tumblr
okay, so
firmware.
I guess I'll do it by next week.
Yeah, I think, yeah, on the weekend I can try what Eric has shown. Maybe I can get it to work with the Tumblr. Yeah, 5 minutes left. Anything more we want to discuss?
Okay,
No, then we see you next week.
Thank you. See
thank you
you
very
next
much.
week.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.